We're on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, and the X, Ryan.
Can we be on YouTube? Am I allowed on YouTube yet?
Well, we're technically on YouTube, but for all those listening, I don't know if my mic sounds good or bad, but if you want to let me know in the chats if it sounds bad, that's great. If not, I don't care. We do the show for us. Let's be honest. Ryan, we have
Dave. Breaking news. First of all,
big things.
Yeah, how old are you?
35.
It's Dave's birthday, everybody.
That's not the breaking news.
It is. No, it is. We're starting here because the rest of this episode might just be hard-hitting, factual information, David, from the latest hot print of the internet, David.
Why, Ryan? Have they
quietly? I'm not fucking going quietly.
Have they recently finished something up? Like some form of COVID?
Like I told myself that I would sit here and sit like a psychopath. That's all. Honestly, I have a litany of things, David. I don't know what you had planned for the program, but
I'm glad you have stuff.
I hijacked the shit out of this. I have a whole half sheet of paper here.
It's a Ryan takeover weekend. Weekday. Normally it's on Sundays. That's why it's usually Sunday nights.
Fuck it, we do it. We did it because of Dave's birthday. It's a birthday special. This is the day we get to celebrate Dave's life for being one of the greatest podcasters in the history of podcasting.
Ryan, let's get to the show.
Dave and I called COVID 4 years before they even tried to say that it was anything but what exactly we said. And the shame thing is that I had to wait for the facts and the scientists to trust the science enough when I knew you were lying to me. Yeah, this is the X thing, Dave. I sent you a text message of the actual article, it's a 550-page PDF. And it is listed. Fauci lied. Like this. If you actually go to the table of contents and scroll through some of the topics on there, it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. You know, it's almost like a highly sophisticated, coordinated effort, David.
Hold on, Ryan, because we need to be accurate on the show. I think accuracy is most and utmost important. We cannot be pushing conspiracy theories. Ryan, we can't have malinformation, disinformation, or misinformation on this show. So tell me, when you say Fauci lied, did he ever say in Congress, for example, deny that there was NIH gain of function research funding?
If you want to go to the section of the table of contents, we can, David, but I looked before the program and the header in the table of contents for all my non-believers out there. I should really just talk like a psychopath like the news does. You guys would call the cops on me. It says in there that Fauci misled with the gain of function terminology.
Misled, or he lied?
Fucking lied. He lied. I don't think they can say lie because I think they got to drag him into court, of course.
Fucking drag him into court. Drag him into court by his ears and his nose.
Should actually go before like an international court and go to Nuremberg. You know, it's amazing that this whole thing was previed on the World Health Organization's guidelines on, let's be honest, private companies. Isn't that weird, David? They're not government ran, but a private company was told what to do by a global government that gets global funding.
No, as long as it's a private company, you should leave it
as long as it's
by the way, and this, I don't want to go off on a tangent because I want to get back to this
so
COVID.
Fucked up, dude.
I want to get back to the COVID thing for sure, but I always found it ironic that libertarians, and I consider myself somewhat libertarian, right? I always found it ironic that libertarians took that approach when it came to the social media thing. Well, they're private. YouTube, for example, banning people and shadow banning and blocking and censoring. Well, it's a private company. They can do what they want. Okay. The libertarians are saying this, who are running around telling everybody we need to end the Fed. Please tell me what the Fed is. I'm just saying. The Fed is literally a private bank. Oh, it's a private company, everybody.
Yeah.
Don't worry, libertarians. Yeah. It's a private company. You don't need to end the Fed. Don't even audit it.
That's not private, Dave. It's just a corporation.
Right. What is this document? Is this the official document?
I want you. Yeah.
Or is this like a letter to?
No. I want you to go to. Because look, I'm tired of people shitting on X. So that's another part of this range today. Go to fucking Go Duck, Dave, and search the actual article so that people can fucking see that it's on a .gov website. It is coming out on the 6th of December.
Okay, well, first of all, we're going to search this. We'll search this on Google because DuckDuckGo is a conspiracy site, right? It's conspiracy Google. It's right-wing Google, and we can't have that. We like accuracy on the show. We will not push conspiracy theories. So I'm going to go to Google, and I'm going to search. What is this? COVID.
Yeah, I just typed in COVID. What's the bottom of the white? I can't see.
Coronavirus Pandemic Commission.
No, it's like affirmative action. What is it? Aftermath action. Yeah, whatever the like sub headline is, it's like
after action review of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes, type that in. Yep, after action review COVID-19,
and it will come right up. Of COVID,
and it will be a .gov archives. It will be that header. You can download that PDF. It's 557 fucking pages or something, and you're gonna be able to scroll faster than I can on my phone with my finger, which is why I want you to actually pull up the document. I'm not trying to have a 17-hour podcast, but you know. Fauci literally lied to you, made you get injected with an experiment. Let's be honest, an experimental vaccine that was pushed through by quote Operation Warp Speed because, you know, for all the people that say I'm a Trump defender, Trump trusted the scientists at the time and told and listened to government officials like you guys all would want. Okay. And they fucking lied to him. Okay, so this isn't even a partisan thing. They all lied. Anybody that I said this since the beginning, Dave can go on record. I went to the Cole Beasley rally. I came here and reported on it. Anybody that agreed to any of this, it's the death penalty to the Nuremberg Law.
Okay,
now,
so here it is.
You can argue different things on the way down that he knew and he didn't know and he misled this person. So this great, but dude, I had a conversation with a family member about this, and he's like, what's going to change? You know, like really, what is going to change out of this? But I'll tell you this right now, David, I'll let you go, but go ahead. I'm sorry. This is frustrating as fuck, Dave. We were literally censored on the internet. My civil liberties were violated by a billionaire of a company, a trillionaire organization. I'm told my opinion doesn't matter, my voice doesn't matter, and nothing I say is truth. And in actuality, it's the opposite of all that things. I sit here, drink coffee, and am able to predict something that takes 4 years for the government to do. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, so this is a press release. I know there's an actual commission, but this is the press release from the commission. I think this is what was screenshotted, if I'm not mistaken. So press release from published December 2nd, 2024. They released this on my birthday, so thank you. It was a glorious gift for once from the government.
Happy birthday.
The final report, COVID Select, concludes 2-year investigation, issues 500 plus page. So Ryan, you said 4 years. That was misinformation. So I'm gonna have to correct you on that. 2-year investigation, issues 500 plus page final report on lessons learned and the path forward. Oh, I'm glad this is a kumbaya moment. I'm glad we're all learning lessons today.
You know, Pfizer's just going to become a billionaire organization again because of heart attacks is plummeting through the roof.
We're all just living in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. This is a learning path and a path forward. COVID-19 origin. Okay, so the origins. This is from the press.
Look at how they worded that it was built in a fucking lab. The virus possesses a biological characteristic that is not found in nature. Okay, it's called. Yeah, we.
Okay, so this is the actual document too. If you click the link, you can go.
Yeah, and then you can download the PDF. Yeah, see, on my phone, this didn't pull up, or I didn't see. I just seen download, and I clicked that. Data shows that all COVID-19 causes stem from a single introduction to humans. This runs contradictory to the previous pandemics. There were multiple spillover events. Wuhan is home to the Chinese foremost SARS research lab, which has a history of conducting gain-of-function research. Inadequate.
It had inadequate biosafety levels. So, for all the people who thought it was conspiratorial to say that the COVID was leaked from a lab that studied COVID, here's a report: 2 years of investigation to find that the things we were saying when it was conspiratorial, of course.
The raccoon dog, David. It was the raccoon dog. You remember? They know the exact raccoon dog.
See,
number
Ryan,
4 point. Oh,
Ryan,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Ben Shapiro has been vindicated while we were pushing conspiracy theories 3-4 years ago. How long ago was COVID now? 2020? Was it really 2020? Holy fuck. When we were pushing conspiracy theories
my whole life changed in 2020, dude.
Years ago, Ryan. We were pushing conspiracy theories on the internet. Ben Shapiro correctly waited for the facts. And now, 4 years later, Ben Shapiro can tell you the same things that we told you 4 years ago, but you'll know that it's factual because it's been backed up by government research. Ben Shapiro
Yeah,
really is the way of the future.
yeah, I'm really happy that Ben Shapiro was able to get all that ad revenue, David, that we could not get on because YouTube censored our content because they knew it was contradictory to the actual narrative and they knew that it was real. Because let's be honest, if Google spies on all my photographs, you don't think that the government in Wuhan at the Institute of fucking of their bio labs, you don't think that they know what those people are doing and where though? How do you think they were able to trace it to the fucking lab?
I'm just glad since
This
Ben
is
Shapiro waited for the facts that he could have not done irreparable damage to people by telling them to go out and get a vaccine for
he
a virus.
shamed you. I remember listening to him. That's actually when I stopped and we started potting, so I don't need those people anymore necessarily. Yeah, he was like, my wife's a doctor and everything is good. And then he had to backtrack about the vaccine. He has the video up why I regret getting the vaccine or my stance is different on. And he was one that that shares conservative values. Is it freedom and conservative to forcefully inject me to go make fucking money when you're telling me that a mask is a good alternative until they make the injection? But
Right,
after the injection's made, I have to get the injection, David. Even though the mask was fine before, now that we have the option, you have to get that or you can't work here. Even though when you get the injection, you still got to wear a mask.
Right,
Fucking
did we ever
lunacy.
post our we regret getting a vaccine thing to any of our social media accounts?
Never. I don't regret catching COVID naturally from these fucking Chinese bastards that built it in a fucking lab to try to poison you and your family so that you would welcome dictatorial power in America. And they subverted every level of fucking democracy that has ever existed. The worst civil liberty violation. It isn't trans rights. It's not slavery. It's not black rights. It's not fucking none of them. The most heinous thing that has ever happened in the history of America when it comes to civil liberty violation was what they did during the COVID pandemic. The greatest, most egregious thing ever.
Brian, I can't help but notice number 4. Does everyone remember the conspiracy theory that we all pushed?
Yeah.
How many people watching the show have heard this from someone they know? Oh, I had COVID before COVID was out. I had it in like the fall sometime because remember,
it's impossible, David. It didn't exist. It didn't exist, David.
It was like January or February that COVID happened, but the fall before then is when people were saying like, "Oh, I kind of had this little sickness, like it kind of sucked, but like I kind of got over it." And all those people were called like, no, that was just a common cold or a flu or something. We didn't have actual COVID. COVID didn't exist. Here's number 4. Wuhan Institute of Virology, the WIV, researchers were sick with COVID-like virus in the fall of 19 months before COVID-19 was discovered at the wet market.
So we're talking like 6 months nearly, right? Like October, they said, or November or something.
Yeah, it was October, November.
The fall. That's not winter.
How many people?
Winter is November, David. It didn't hit here till February or March of 2020.
How many people do you know who said that? Like, oh, I had that little sickness before COVID. I think it was COVID. And they're like, no, that didn't exist.
Dave, you remember the conspiracy that COVID was already in America by the time that we locked everything down? And then the locking us all down just helped it spread around. Remember when they said it could live on the bottom of your shoe for a whole day? Do you remember that? Nothing can kill it.
Gain of function research, a lab-related incident involving gain of function research is most likely the origin of COVID-19. Current government mechanisms for overseeing this dangerous gain of function research are incomplete, severely convoluted, and lack global applicability.
Yeah, and they're just in China. I mean, don't fucking reference that they're just sitting in a communist country that's ran by a fucking psychopath. Better honestly, than capitalist country, honestly.
I mean, we're not going to sit here and read a 520-page summary, but I don't know. This press release sounds like it summarizes it pretty well. I might take it upon myself to read the whole thing regardless, but on the show,
the table of contents, the flip through the COVID, like just the way they phrase it. It's very obviously. I know that they can't say that it definitely came from. I mean, this is legalese, right, David? We got to skirt around like yes and no's. But until they do trials on these people, let's be honest. If Hunter Biden's going to catch a pardon, why wouldn't Fauci get pardoned by fucking Joe Biden? The thing is Nuremberg doesn't like that. This is the problem. Like we're still look. We're ahead of the curve again, David. Once again 5 years ahead of the curve. Look, they're gonna try to hold them to United States law, but Nuremberg. I'm not for global laws, but Nuremberg were accepted that this is unacceptable. So like they supersede.
I'm not for global laws either, but when it's something that, like, for example, we
like
agreed
genocide,
to,
David.
well, if we agree to something globally with many other people who agree to it, then you follow it, right? Like you don't just ignore. Well, it's not a global thing that's being forced upon you. Everyone came together and said, "Yeah, I think we should do this."
Yeah, I wonder if that's what just happens when you see, I don't know, like hundreds of millions of people just die, David. You know, it'd be a shame, David, if in literally 5 years people fucking just drop dead and we have to fucking stand there and watch all of our family and friends fucking die in front of us.
Well, you know, we don't really
I'm
know.
being
I
serious.
mean, we don't
I'm being
truly
fucking
know what's going to
serious.
happen. We
And
don't
you
know.
I gotta sit there and then I gotta emotionally try to process. You trying to hold your whole family. Everybody dies. All the lawyers, all the doctors, all the nurses. They're the ones that all the first responders got the jab first, David.
You remember
gonna
Chris
fix you when
Cuomo
you're
was not just Chris Cuomo, but they were all running around telling everybody that there was long-term research to Neil deGrasse Tyson and Chris Cuomo and Fauci and all the heads, right?
Oh, thanks. I'm not. I was just gonna say, there's a thing in there about Andrew Cuomo and how what he did was illegal, and that his executive order was tyrannical. He's mentioned in there by name that what he did with the executive order was illegal. Like I told you guys 4 fucking years ago. I'm glad we got legal weed out of it, Dave. And he's just grabbing people's asses.
I don't mean to bounce around, but let me go to this other screen because this is where I think the Andrew Cuomo thing is. So most of you know me as Trev, blah 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 blah, chairman, blah blah blah. Here, okay. So consensus across multiple, the consensus across multiple topics, right? They listed out. I don't know if this is the table of contents. The possibility that COVID-19 emerged because of a lab or research-related accident is not a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, this is the same thing I see.
EcoHealth Alliance Inc. and Dr. Peter Daszak should never again receive U.S. taxpayer dollars. Scientific messaging must be clear and concise, backed by evidentiary support, and come from trusted messengers such as frontline doctors and treating patients, not Chris Cuomo, not Don Lemon, not Neil deGrasse Tyson, not fucking Anthony Fauci, who hasn't seen a patient in decades. I don't even know if I was alive the last time Dr. Fauci saw a patient, but we're following his guidance. How about all the people who are seeing people on the front line day after day after day saying, something's not right here. I don't know if we should put people on ventilators. This sounds like a bad idea. Maybe we should let the virus run through naturally and everyone can get natural herd immunity.
Maybe we should use ivermectin, David.
Maybe we shouldn't jab everybody with experimental drugs. Public health officials must work to regain America's trust. That's an understatement. Americans want to be educated, not indoctrinated. What a fucking statement that is.
Where'd we learn the skills of indoctrination, David?
Here's number 5.
They're never gonna teach you the skills to break free of their system. It's just it's just the congruent. This is why you can't wait for the facts, Ben Shapiro. For someone so smart, you're so stupid. The dude could run laps around me, fucking IQ wise, but he's just so smart. He's dumb. It's just.
Well, he's. We've talked.
And he's a Jew. He's literally the Nazi putting Jews in the oven, telling you to don't worry about the Jews. It's just so, and he's Jewish.
He's got the intelligence. He's a coward. Number 5, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. They literally picked him out by name. Participated in medical malpractice and publicly covered up the total number of nursing home fatalities in New York. Unbelievable. The U.S. National Institute of Health funded gain of function research at the Wuhan lab. The Chinese government, agencies within the U.S. government, and some members of the international scientific community sought to cover up facts concerning the origins of the pandemic. Trust the scientists, Ryan. Why don't
98% of the scientists? 98% of the Nobel Peace Prize winning scientists, David, all agree though. The 98% of them. All 5 of those economists that they handpicked.
Number 3, Operation Warp Speed was a tremendous success and a model to build upon in the future. The vaccines, which are now probably better characterized as therapeutics. Again, all the conspiracy theorists running around saying, don't call it a vaccine. It's not a
It's a
vaccine.
fucking supplement. It's a supplement. Is that what you're telling me? It's vitamin
Undoubtedly saved millions of lives by diminishing likelihood of severe disease and death.
Probably, right? When you factor in the way they were able to get all the shit that they needed and send it everywhere. A logistic success, at least. Okay.
Rampant fraud, waste, and abuse plagued the COVID-19 pandemic response. Government
Leaky bucket.
Pandemic era school closures will have enduring impact on generations of America's children, and these closures were enabled by groups meant to serve those children.
Like teachers?
Yeah, and school admin.
Still want to get paid, though. Still want to get paid. I don't even get paid for holidays, and teachers want to get paid to fucking be a YouTube video.
The Constitution cannot be suspended in times of crisis and restriction on freedoms, so distrust in public health. The prescription cannot be worse than the disease. Ryan, I've heard that before. Where did I hear that from? Such as strict and overly broad lockdowns that led to predictable anguish and avoidable consequences.
Dave, you know what's so funny about that last one? That's literally what alchemy is. Like I'm not the word, but the study of alchemy was taking poisonous things and diluting them and mixing them. I'm generalizing, obviously. And then that became the scientific pursuit that we now know as chemistry, right? Being able to measure things. All of that is grounded. Actual alchemy, guys smashing mushrooms and licking a fucking toad and smoking a fucking daisy leaf. Yeah, that tonic thing, that is as old. David, there's nothing new under the sun. Of course, they have to kill the Bible because it teaches you everything that you need as a man and a woman. But there's nothing new under the sun. But yeah, that's literally been known for all of human history. And then here we are. We have to spend billions of dollars, and millions of peoples may have to have irrefutable things wrong with them. And, let's be honest, damaging children, David, no big deal. They don't care about that. They sell them. Damage our children all because we couldn't learn a lesson that's 5,000 years old.
We have a mental health crisis in this country, Ryan. How can we solve it? I don't know. How about a global pandemic, and then we just make them all sit alone in a room with their own thoughts?
Yes, and be on a screen, which literally puts your mind in REM sleep. But then again, I have to wait on the science to do that because I'm sure the companies that make the screens are going to fund the science, David, for the screen study so that of course buy the blue light glasses that do nothing because you actually need a REM lens, people. You must retards.
You must trust the scientists on this, right?
No, I won't trust anything, David. I am a scientist. I can participate in science every day of my life. I'm sorry, man. I was really trying to be a psychopath today and just be super calm and be super collective and just be like, yeah, they lied to you about poisoning your whole family. And when you all drop dead, you can't even sue them because there's a secret vaccine court. That's not a fucking secret. But don't listen to RFK because he doesn't want to get red number 40 out of your cereal. He just wants to have whatever Canada has.
He's a conspiracy theorist, Ryan. He's a crazy
right-wing party that's just packed with crazy right-wingers.
Robert Kennedy Jr. did not wait for the facts like Ben Shapiro, and thus he was pushing conspiracy theories until they became truth, Ryan.
I swear to God, Ben Shapiro's audience is just fucking Jewish Israel bots at this point. There's no way that guy actually, there's no way people listen to him and Michael Knowles. Like, there's no way. There's no fucking way that you guys can listen to that guy anymore. And I don't bring him down. He's done great things for the movement. I'll never fucking... Him owning college kids is the highlight of that dude's life, apparently. But, like, holy fuck, dude. Like I said it, I think it was 2 weeks ago. You have to be brave enough to be wrong to even get the idea of fact to begin with. You can't have fact if you don't have something wrong to compare. It's just... This is so... I'm not even that smart, Dave. We're not even that smart. We're just, like, doing the basic reverse thinking that built Western government.
It doesn't quite frankly, you don't have to be, and this is something that they'll try to like demean people. Like, you don't need to be a highly educated college graduate. You don't even need a doctorate in any of these sciences to just follow a logical trail. Like that just takes general average IQ. To be perfectly honest with you, an average logical thinker could walk his way through the COVID pandemic better than all these scientists did.
David, and the thing that we brushed over it super lightly here because we're on other things is they said the Constitution doesn't just go away when something is wrong. So how is there gun laws? How is there any law that goes against the Constitution ever? How come they hate me because of my freedom, but the Patriot Act exists? How can you say YouTube is a private company when they suppress people's voices? The Constitution doesn't. That means people literally put a mask on. No. Come and take it. Yeah, we're here now. January 20th better go smoothly, people. That's all I'm telling you.
Well, I really want to
really.
I seriously want to take this report and I want to print it out and I want to just shove it
Staple
in
it.
I want to print out tons of copies of these and start shoving them in people's mailboxes. I don't know. Maybe don't do that. But I want everyone to know about this. You have to go in public. You have to talk history, religion, and politics. You have to talk about this. We have to let people know because it's not going to stop here. They're going to try things like this again in the future, and we can't let people forget. Because what they're going to do is they're going to try and memory hole it, shove it over here somewhere. 10 years from now, everyone forgot that it ever happened. Trust me, you can forget things happen. Never forget 9/11, Ryan, right? Never forget how, but it's just.
When was 9/11 again?
There's just generations. And then time goes
Kids
on.
Kids never born, right?
And it's not that you forget the big image, right? Everyone has seen the image of the towers getting hit with the plane and the towers falling. Everyone's seen that. But what people don't remember are little distinct details about that day. And that's what's going to happen with COVID. Everyone's going to remember that COVID happened, but everyone's going to forget the little details. Everyone's going to forget that Dr. Fauci went to Congress and told Rand Paul, there was no NIH funding, Dr. Paul, even though this report came out 2 years after that saying there was NIH funding, Dr. Fauci. Those are the things that people are going to forget. They're not going to forget that COVID happened. They're going to forget that Dr. Fauci lied about this. You're going to forget that the government lied about this. You're going to forget that everyone told you to get injections against your will, and they called them vaccines. And they're going to forget that the government forced you to put masks on, even though they can't force you to put masks on.
They told you your businesses weren't essential. They told you that your voice doesn't matter. They told you that you can't breathe the air. They told you that your grandparents have to die alone in nursing homes.
Some people will never forget, but I personally will never forget. My grandfather, rest in peace, he is passed. He was going through cancer during this time of COVID, and I'll never forget. He was on a ventilator, dying from an infection. He actually beat cancer. He was on a ventilator, dying from an infection. My family was there. They were not letting people in the room. We had to just barge in. We literally just went. We're like, no, you're gonna have to throw us out. We went in. And people who went through those kinds of situations.
The weak-willed men, David, that had the fucking soy injections their whole goddamn life. I wonder when they don't want you to grow a beard and be strong, David. I fucking wonder.
There's the people
I
who
wonder,
went
just
through
watch
that.
your grandfather die through fucking glass, and then the psychological warfare on that nurse that had to know that should happen. Do you remember when they were ringing a bell in New York City when people were dying from fucking COVID? They put everybody, Dave, what was the word? Political Stockholm Syndrome? They fucking meant it. And you don't think that the doctors that told people to lock the country down, that you're telling me they don't, I know psychology and they don't, David? Let's be honest here.
To be honest with you, Ryan, that was the day, and I don't mean anything personal against this nurse. She was just whatever. I get it. But the fact that the nurse was trying to keep us out of that room because someone told her to, and she was doing her job, Ryan. That's the day I knew. I knew for a fact what Jordan Peterson had already said, that most people would be Nazi concentration camp guards. I'm not saying she's a Nazi concentration camp guard. I'm saying the mindset is the same. It's only a stone's throw away from putting people in the ovens. I'm serious about that. I'm not saying she's a camp guard, but the fact that she was keeping people away from dying loved ones because it was her job, it's not different than people who were forcing people to go into the gas chambers because somebody told them to.
I don't care. This is worse than the Holocaust. I don't give a fuck. This is worse than the Holocaust. This is worse than how many fucking vaccines were administered? Billions? Seriously.
Well, what
They
was the thing?
injected
Like,
whole countries with shit they didn't need to.
I think just in America alone, it was like 80, 90% of the country had the vaccine, wasn't it?
70% of people have one dose or, at least one dose.
70% had one dose. Okay, so 70% of a 330 million population country. Now I get there's children and stuff, and I don't think that they're all included in that. But
Dude, how
still,
many children were
even if
infected?
it's 150 million
This
just in this country.
This is worse than the fucking Holocaust. The Jews in the oven is like right now. This is just put the injection in your arm. Just get the COVID shot. That's the new Jews in the oven. I'm fucking tired of it. This is fucking insanity. I'm not supposed to be upset. I know I can't change a goddamn world in a bedroom, but this is crazy. It's crazy. Keep paying your fucking taxes for this shit. Like Dave said, you know why they're able to get away with? I know we know this on the program, but you guys have to tell people because these are plans written outside our government and then forced and implemented on us through any means that they can get it done. And they just happen to use a communist takeover through a fucking biological weapon. Now, I'll go further in this report because they can't, David, but this was a World War III. I told you guys World War III started during COVID. They launched this on the world to fuck everything up. They knew it was out. They couldn't contain it. So why keep lying? If all these trusted science, if everybody knew what to do, why keep lying? They wanted it to do this. I wouldn't be surprised if those people in China were told, if you don't take this home, we're going to kill your whole family or jail your whole family. They can do that shit there. Or do that white panel vans don't exist, David, when they just take poor people and cut open their liver and give it to some rich Chinese executive because, he can't die. He's got a business to run.
Well, don't forget what, we watched that undercover video courtesy of Steven Crowder. Thanks, Steven Crowder. And that was just one guy, one czar in New York City. But the idea that it wasn't forced upon you because they made it sound friendly is nonsense. Just because China might have actually and I don't know China's policy, but I'm presuming China might have actually went out and forced it upon people because they can. Xi Jinping can rule with an iron fist in China. And there's plenty of other places that do that kind of thing. But in America, you can't necessarily outwardly rule with an iron fist. So you have to, priss it up a little bit. You have to dress it up. You have to make it sound nice. You have to make it sound like, well, we're not forcing anybody, but it's the best path forward. It's gonna be good for your health. We're gonna have a pandemic of the unvaccinated. They're running around scaring everybody and fear mongering everybody and getting COVID injections that are unproven and untested long term because they couldn't be. Remember, COVID was a novel virus. It was only out for a year at the time the vaccine was pushed upon everybody. So it was a novel virus, but everyone's running around saying, well, there's been long-term tests. Well, how have there been long-term tests? Neil deGrasse Tyson, Dr. Fauci. Where are these tests? Can we see them? Where's the transparency? I don't buy any of this. I can't get behind any of this. If you were fooled into it, I don't blame you at all. But this is why it's so important to really exercise yourself to be you need to be brave. You can't be a coward. You have to follow your own senses. You have to make good decisions for yourself. I'm not saying don't trust doctors, but I'm saying don't trust Dr. Fauci because he's the national blah 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 blah. It doesn't matter. What does your local doctor say? Does he say that maybe you can beat it because you're a young, healthy individual, and maybe they might recommend you could get the vaccine, but you're probably going to beat it. How many people did that? How many people follow their doctors? I wonder how many people went against their doctor's word because Dr. Fauci told them to. I can't get behind this kind of thing. And what Ryan said about this being worse than the Holocaust, it's going to be met with debate. I mean, most people aren't going to like that Ryan had that to say. But here's the thing. It's because of the visuals, right? The fact is the Holocaust obviously, we're not Holocaust in ours. The Holocaust obviously happened and it was tragic. And the visuals that everyone has seen from the Holocaust, they're disgusting. All right. And you can't look at, pictures of starving Jews, or you can't look at the facts of how many people were gassed or any of that. You can't look at any of that and be okay with it. But the reason this is worse is because it was Ryan, how much larger of a scale was the COVID-19? What was governments forcing these vaccinations upon people, forcing everything that we've talked about was forced by government.
The reason this
It
is
was
worse
so
is
much
because
it's so much larger on scale, first of all, but secondly, you go, because I
mean,
have another theory
this is literally what would have happened if Hitler had the smartphone technology and stuff. Like, this is like always been the thing. Like, imagine if Hitler had the fucking.
Ryan, I lost your audio. Just me? I got no audio. Ryan went away. Ryan disappeared. I don't know what happened. We'll see if we can get him back on. I get it. I do. I get it. Because on the face of that comment, it sounds like, holy shit, how could you think anything is possibly worse than the Holocaust? This was high level. This affected billions of people. For me personally, I think that's part of it. And there was so much that went into making this happen that has parallels to what the Nazis did. Like I said, that nurse who would not allow people to go see their loved ones because she was doing her job. I get it. But that's when you need strong-willed people. That's when you need people to be brave. That's when you need people to stand up and say, like, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. Oh, well, if you don't do that, you're fired. Good. I'm out. Where was that? Where was that? I mean, I know people that were forced, like, if you ran a business, oh, you make sure all your customers have masks on. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not forcing people to put masks on their face. If you want to do it, you do it. I'm not doing it. There wasn't enough of that went on. That's why COVID was allowed to go on as long as it went on, because not enough people stood up. And that goes for people on all sides of the aisle. I was honestly, I expected certain things from people on the left. What I didn't expect was people on the right to bend over and take it the way that they did. And there was times, listen, I get it. I didn't necessarily mind, you can put a mask on your face. Oh, you feel like you're protecting somebody. I get that. That's fine. But once it becomes force, once you're forced by any means, whether it's physical force by being shamed into it, societal reasons, I'm falling off of that. I'm not getting on board with that. And I'm not going to do it because you think I should do it. I'm not going to force somebody to put on a mask. I'm not going to shame somebody in getting a vaccination. They went on national TV, on the media. They're running around telling everybody that it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
The dark winter for those unvaccinated people, David.
COVID could have been over in a population full of strong-willed individuals. COVID would have been over in about 48 seconds. Like, it would have not happened. Yep. But there were people, and like I said, on all sides of the aisle. I'm extra ashamed of people on the right who fell in line with this. The Ben Shapiros of the world saying, "Wait for the facts." So what do we have to do, Ben Shapiro, in a Ben Shapiro world? We got to wait 4 years to fight back against government tyranny?
Vote him out of power, David. Just you got to wait, get the facts, and then then we'll all forget. Like you said, we'll all forget in 8 years when we can finally vote them out, and the fresh 18-year-olds had no idea what the new normal was, and we're going to expect them to vote for the old normal when they didn't know what the old one was, let alone the new one. Of course, David. It just makes logical sense. The founding fathers, when they were being tyrannized by the King of England, David, that's surely what George Washington said, was like, you know what, maybe we'll just wait for King George to, like, change. We'll wait for the facts on this.
Is that what they told everybody? And
yeah,
then,
I'm sure.
And then, take it back though, and like try to rationalize this or compare this with back then. Like, Ben Shapiro would be telling everyone to wait for could you imagine back in the Revolutionary War, right? Before that all started, but like back in the Tea Party days. Could you imagine Ben Shapiro like, I don't know, guys, we should wait for the facts, and then there's just like me and Ryan just fucking chucking shit over the side of I'm not waiting for shit, Shapiro. I'm just fucking launching millions of dollars of tea into an ocean. I am not waiting for anything.
Yeah.
Wait for the facts.
Wait at these facts at the bottom of this fucking ocean. You know, I actually I did some ancestry digging. I actually had an ancestor die literally like a day after the Boston Tea Party in 1775. It's so awesome in Boston. I wonder.
Ryan, you have good audio. You have a frozen image.
Yeah, it's to be expected at this point. They're trying to obviously sabotage the program, David.
Were you in document cam?
I was in something.
Were you checking your OnlyFans?
No, David, I had an emergency call.
We got there's man, we're all round up, but there's so much to this. It would take Ryan and myself would have to live stream for about 48 hours to get through all of this.
Yeah, I would need an insane amount of coffee.
Paycheck Protection Program. The Paycheck Protection Program, which offered essential relief to Americans in the form of loans that could be forgiven if the funds were used to offset pandemic-era hardships, was rife with fraudulent claims resulting in at least $64 billion of taxpayer dollars lost to fraudsters and criminals. Remember when everybody was running around and they got, I don't remember what it was. Was it $1,200 checks or $1,500 or something? I don't remember how much the check was for. But all these people who made under a certain bar got $1,200 or $1,500 checks. And when you started doing the math on how much money they spent, you thought, well, where did all the other money go? Because it was so expensive. And the more you looked into it, the more you knew there was just giant corporatism, all this money going to big chains, big corporations, all of these people like Jeff Bezos and, you know, I don't know if Sam Walton, I think he's dead, but his family gaining all this wealth because the big chains got to stay in business while the mom and pop shops went under. Fraudulent unemployment claims. Fraudsters cost the American taxpayer more than $191 billion by taking advantage of the federal government's unemployment system and exploiting individuals' personally identifiable information. That's a lot of money. Right there, $64 billion, $191 billion. Start doing the math. Small Business Administration failures. $200 million of taxpayers' money were lost as a result of the SBA's inability to conduct proper oversight, implement interest controls, and ensure fraud protection measures were enacted. $200 million just because they couldn't do basic oversight. And you want the government to be in charge of your health care or anything. Like, name any government program that's successful. I'll wait. Transitional fraud. At least half the taxpayer dollars lost in COVID-19 relief programs were stolen by international fraudsters. So now, not only did we lose all this money within our own borders, we're losing it overseas as well. COVID-19 relief funding oversight, expanding relief programs that lacked proper oversight functions exposed severe vulnerabilities in the system and paved the way for fraudsters, international criminals, and foreign adversaries to take advantage. The government should not. Whenever you hear somebody say, should the government? Absolutely not. Absolutely not is my answer, no matter what. World Health Organization, I'd love to hear this. The WHO's response to the COVID-19 pandemic was an abject failure because it caved to pressure from the Chinese Communist Party and placed China's political interests ahead of the international duties. Further, the WHO's newest effort to solve the problems exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic were via a pandemic treaty may harm the United States. Ryan, how many times during COVID did we reference the WHO?
Every day. I actually said that they were a shill. I think we said that they were plants for Google. They're tyrants. That they should probably be hung for treason. Something along those lines.
This report.
I think we're the only ones calling for treason, by the way, David. I still, like, people are like, take him to court. It's like,
no.
They should hang for treason. That's like the fucking, I'm not for capital punishment. But they said they agreed to it. They took the Hippocratical oath. Hypocritical. Fucking hilarious. I don't know, David. I think at some point here, we just have to, like, really... You have to really really just actually think about what the fuck you lived through. And like I said, this is worse than the Holocaust. Like, I don't ever want, there's honestly no reason anymore to even reference anything else in the rest of ancient history, World War II history, modern history, Vietnam history, fucking Iraq history. You don't even got to go to 9/11 anymore. They have literally gift wrapped every conspiracy in the tightest bow that you could ever do and just give it to you.
This is worse than the Patriot Act. It's worse than the Holocaust. It's worse than 9/11. It's worse than anything. Name it.
And we've said it before on the program, the only reason that some of these things were allowed to happen, especially during the pandemic, David, and the spy grid that they have, was because of 9/11 and the Patriot Act. So it's weird how these things force feed into themselves, which goes back to the larger point, which is these are constructed events. Not saying that they said on this day, this is going to happen. I wouldn't put it past China. I said that in this episode. What I'm saying is these, I mean, we showed on the one, what was the project? They had it like the year or two before the pandemic. They said that if there was a global
project,
they held it in New York City.
Yeah, and it had to do with the World Economic Forum too. Now I gotta try to find this. Like Project 21 or something.
Yeah, it was the whole bit. Yeah, I mean, and this, and look, I'm not saying that these systems have to die, David. Let's not get it twisted. Like obviously, if anything, this report is highlighting the flaws, and if we're looking at this without the conspiracy goggles on, of course, David, because conspiracies aren't real, they fucked up and they gotta fix a lot of things, and these systems need to be better. Look, I don't want fucking the flu to turn into
hold on,
like a Chernobyl event,
Event 201.
Event 201, there it is.
Event 201 exercise will bring together public and private leaders to inform multi-stakeholder corporations for pandemic
public and private
and
leaders, David.
It came out, hold on, Geneva, Switzerland, October 15th, 2019. That's the fall. It's the fall before COVID, Ryan.
Some would say, David, that some would say that COVID was already loose in China, David, depending on what post on former ex Twitter had at the time. Remember when the reports of the athletes and the Olympics were getting sick? And
I don't want anyone to think. I know we did this on the show, but just as a refresher, I don't want anyone to think that we're pushing conspiracy theories, Ryan. This
David,
is from.
I don't push conspiracy, David. I call conspiracy. At this point, I'm a fucking conspiracy caller.
I'm sorry. World Economic Forum, right?
It's crazy. It's in Switzerland, too, of all the fucking places to hold this thing. The one place that wasn't shut down during the fucking.
Well, that's where all the WEF people were. Live simulation.
What, fucking their friends' wives, David? Having orgies, David. That's what these billionaires are doing, David. I thought they were outstanding people. Jeffrey Epstein didn't buy any kids and fuck them on an island that he built for no reason. Sorry, Dave. Go
ahead. The Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, in partnership with the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, what a shock, will host Event 201, a high-level simulation exercise for pandemic preparedness and response. This was released 6 months before COVID hit our borders, if you believe the narrative.
That guy should get fed into a fucking wood chipper screaming.
So you want me to believe?
Fuck Bill Gates, he's fucking scumbag.
The world leaders, private and public, Ryan, the world leaders came together 6 months before COVID, and then poof, what a quinky dink, COVID hit. This thing was so set up ahead of time. It fucking makes me sick. The reason this is worse than the Holocaust, I'm gonna keep saying that.
It is. This is. I'm not waiting for the facts, David. This is. They did it. We caught them. I called it. Dave called it. We showed you the fucking articles. They censored my shit on the internet. They censored Dave's shit on the internet, and they said that it's lies. They said it's propaganda. It's conspiracy. They said I was stealing information, which is impossible. The whole nine. I was told it's a private company, but getting funded from global governments. The whole nine. This is the worst thing to ever happen in human history. If you look at government, corruption, and systems that are, it's the worst.
I'm telling you, you can't understate the size of this conspiracy.
And I'm told that a conspiracy this big is impossible too, which is also the fucking funny thing about this.
Ryan,
It's impossible. There is the world's too big, David. The world's too big.
Hold on. This is important because me first. All right, me first. I'm the one who has always said in the past, if you're going to have a conspiracy, it can't be this scale. It can't be, because there's going to be somebody somewhere. There's going to be at least a couple strong-willed individuals who are going to leak information. I don't think I can ever believe anything ever again, because look at the size of this. Honestly, Ryan, because of COVID, I now question 9/11 narrative and story way more than I ever did in the past because of COVID. Because think of the grand scale of this. We have not just the United States government, which is already a large scale. We have
biggest government ever.
All world governments. Every government in the world.
And then we have a government that is the government of the world.
And then the elite of the elites, the World Economic Forum, got together before the pandemic hit. Coincidentally, of course. Got together, private and public, Event 201, got together and tested what would happen. It was a real-life simulation is what they called it. What would happen in a global pandemic.
Yeah, they call it a global simulation, David. We call it political Stockholm syndrome for those that have the rose-colored glasses on. Oh, I can't wait until the Tates break this down. That might be the one to watch. I fucking told you. Oh, man. This is why you got to get rich, right? Dude, fucking.
I'm fucking astonished. Social distancing, the 6 feet apart social distancing recommendation,
bullshit,
which shut down schools and small businesses across the country, was arbitrary and not based on science. During closed-door testimony, Dr. Fauci testified that the guidance sort of just appeared. That's a quote.
Yeah. Super scientific, David. Mask mandate. There was no conclusive evidence that the mask effectively protected Americans from COVID-19. Public health officials flip-flopped on the efficiency of masks without providing American scientific data, causing a massive uptick in public distrust. Lockdowns, prolonged lockdowns cause immeasurable harm to not only Americans' economy, but also the mental and physical health of Americans, with particularly negative effect on younger citizens. That's weird. Rather than prioritizing the protection of the most vulnerable population, federal and state governments' policies force millions of Americans to forego crucial elements of a healthy and financially sound life.
Hold on, Ryan. Can I do the next one?
Please.
New York pandemic failures. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, everyone's favorite. March.
Call the guy scumbag 10 years ago. It just took this long.
It must have been nice to have your brother working at CNN to help you cover this up.
I hate these people.
Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's March 25 order, which forced nursing homes to accept COVID-19 positive patients, was medical malpractice. Evidence shows that Mr. Cuomo and his administration worked to cover up the tragic aftermath of their policy decisions in an apparent effort to shield themselves from accountability. Evidence suggests Mr. Cuomo knowingly and willfully made false statements to the select subcommittee on numerous occasions about material aspects of New York's COVID-19 nursing home disaster and thus ensuring cover-up. The select subcommittee referred Mr. Cuomo to the DOJ for criminal prosecution. What happened with that? Because did he ever get prosecuted by the DOJ? Did I miss that?
Well, David, it's interesting that he stepped down not because of that.
Well, you like to grab an ass every once in a while, Ryan.
He stepped down for sexual sexual misconduct, which at the time, David, we actually have a podcast called NY Cover Up. What is it? COVID Cover Up or NY Weed or something. This is old archive now.
It's a deep cut.
But yeah, we said deep cut, baby. But yeah, I loosely remember saying that's why he stepped down on that charge, was because that was the one to get him on, so that he didn't get caught on the thing that he really fucking fucked up.
The thing that took down Andrew Cuomo was his only redeeming quality, which was that he liked to slap an ass. Unbelievable.
That fucking Italian in him.
Travel restrictions. President Trump's rapidly implemented travel restrictions saved lives. Now remember, this was racism. Remember? This was the racism. Travel bans only from Muslim countries. Well, no, all countries. Well, only China, because don't call it a China virus. Don't call it a China virus, Dr. Trump. Don't call it a China virus, Mr. Trump. That's racist. During Dr.
Kung Flu, dude. Kung Flu.
Kung Flu was fucking hilarious. During Dr. Fauci's transcribed interview, he unequivocally agreed with every travel restriction issued by the Trump administration. This testimony runs counter to public narrative that the Trump administration's travel restrictions were xenophobic.
They admit, not only did they admit they did all this, but they admit that they gaslit you with the media and that everybody believed them. And Trump won the election.
Well, quite frankly, Ryan, this is the kind of shit. This is the kind of thing that made Trump win the election. Because everybody knew this. Everybody knew this. Everyone could say, you got to wait for the facts. Well, here we go.
Trust your senses, right, David? Trust your senses.
Trust your senses. COVID-19 misinformation. Public health officials often spread misinformation through conflicting messaging, knee-jerk reactions, and a lack of transparency. And the most egregious examples of pervasive misinformation campaigns, off-label drug use, and the lab leak theory were unjustly demonized by the federal government. The Biden administration even employed undemocratic and likely unconstitutional methods, including pressuring social media companies to censor certain 19 COVID content to fight what is deemed as misinformation. It was only their private companies, Ryan. Private companies.
That one was us. Literally. That's me. That was it. Boop, right there. No one else made the headline, just so you guys know. None of you guys matter. That was it. That was the only one that mattered. Right there. Boop.
Where's Mike? Where's Mike? Where's Mike in the chat right now?
Boop. Boop. Why are you screaming, Ryan?
Private companies. They're all private companies. I'm sorry, but if you're a private company, and this comes down to the cowardice, right? The brave versus the strong.
The 99.99% versus the 0.01% of Nazi camp concentration guards, David.
Everyone has free will, Ryan. But it is, do you have strong... There he is, Buff Mike, thanks. But it is, do you have strong will or are you weak-willed? I'm sorry, but most social media companies, when the president of the United States comes to you and says... I'm not saying he did this personally, but if his office comes to you personally, YouTube, I'm YouTube, right?
You mean Ryan, the portals, David?
I'm Mr. YouTube. And the office of the president is sending me messages direct linked in my portals. And he's saying... you got to shut this stuff down. It's Russian misinformation. You got to shut this down. It's COVID misinformation. What are they going to do? Of course they're going to do it. Most of them are going to do it. Because who has the balls to take on a world government? I know, or any government, state government, federal government, world government. I know one place that has the balls. It's Rumble.
Well, Rumble doesn't matter, David, if there's not content creators brave enough.
No, Mike,
they
didn't just kindly ask them to remove misinformation.
Mark Zuckerberg. Did you not hear that Mark Zuckerberg on Rogan? Did you not watch the Twitter files? It's a military. It's the military got involved. How's that peaceful? It's strategic, bro. It was a planned. It was a fucking plan. It's a fucking plan. This is worse than the Holocaust.
This is a wild hill to die on. I'm just saying.
Dude, they censored your friend's YouTube channel. They censored your friend's YouTube channel because they didn't like the shit Dave and I said because it went against their narrative. They admitted it, not me. I didn't censor it.
Well,
I didn't tell YouTube to pull the video.
Hold on. Perfect point. Ready? When Ryan, you know this. When our videos get banned for COVID misinformation, what is the specific thing they say? What does it violate?
The community guidelines.
Hold on. It violates community guidelines. What they say is it goes against the information of the World Health Organization.
It's just like when you go and type in a video on YouTube about Trump, it still says the AP has called the race for Donald Trump.
Yes, really, it's worse than the Holocaust. It happened at the Holocaust. Listen,
dude, the Holocaust would have been worse if they had the digital apparatus that we do now.
Ryan's favorite. Let's preface this. Everyone here agrees, believe it or not, that the Holocaust was a terrible thing. Okay, let's preface it. Let's get it out of the way. Everyone here, I have a Jewish sister. Everyone here believes the Holocaust was terrible. Okay, 100% on board with that. The scale of this conspiracy can't be understated. We're talking this affected billions of people.
And trillions of dollars.
It cannot be understated. I understand. I know. I've seen all the visuals of the Holocaust.
Dude, how's it not worse than the
it.
Holocaust? Andrew Cuomo willingly put sick old people with not sick old people and let them die and then covered it up. That's literally what they did in the Holocaust. That's literal Holocaust shit. They did the Holocaust. They put you in psychological warfare. Just like they did all the German citizens. Nope, we're doing this for the Jews because they're the bad guys.
The Holocaust wasn't a conspiracy.
Dude, people were willing to get you fired for not wearing a mask when the mask doesn't fucking work. Just like I told you. Have you ever taken a respirator fit test, guys? What's that? Yeah, you got to breathe in this sulfaic fucking molecule, David. It makes you cough. You remember? Tastes like shit. I don't know nothing because I don't have a piece of paper. They lied, murder your grandparents, and they fucking literally wired you to hate your neighbors. This is 1984 Thought Police. Read a book. Go read a fucking book. All Dave did was just get on here and be like, hey, historically, blah, 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 1984. You remember the Winston, David? That's all I've ever said. Nothing I've said is brand new. That's what's funny. Nothing I've said is brand new. They told you what they're going to do in fucking books and fantasy novels and graphic stories and science fiction tales and movies. Minority Report, iRobot. How many fucking... it's part of Decembertainment. It's what started Decembertainment. Yeah, it's worse than the Holocaust. Hitler didn't have billion-dollar organizations crafting movies for everybody to tell you to not like a dude if he wears a red hat. You called the people you called us Nazis. What are you talking about? You guys, you made it that way. The left made it that way. Those people made it that way. Punch a Nazi. Or we don't remember the violence on Trump supporters. Or the president. That's right. I forgot that Trump got shot a couple times. Well, unless that was a conspiracy. But that was a conspiracy. We're open to that one. His ear's all healed up. Fuck out of here. It was worse than the Holocaust. Like I said, it's not debatable. I'm not waiting. Look, you have your right to your opinion. That's fine. But you weren't censored on the internet for trying to speak out against global tyrants. Dave was, and I was. So I think I get to decide now. You guys get to follow my facts and Dave's facts now. That's what Rogan showed you guys. I know I'm a little early on the ball here, David, but Rogan showed you how fucking irrelevant your guys' information is. 1 3-hour podcast shuts down the whole media. They have to censor it and still gets 100 million views on one platform. A third of America watched it just on YouTube. But you guys think that you have the control and the power and the authority. There's no way. Look, listen, I'm serious. It was worse than the Holocaust. You got conned. You don't have credibility anymore. I love you, Mike, but you were wrong. You don't have credibility anymore. It doesn't work that way anymore. You don't get to tell us what to do. You don't get to tell me what to believe. You don't get to say I'm a conspiracy theorist anymore. Nobody believes you. Everybody believes the gay frogs. They all believe the fucking chemtrails. They all believe that our money's devalued on purpose. Everybody believes it, dude. They know that the food and water is poisoned on purpose. I know you're not out there talking like that, Mike, but I am. And everybody knows Red 40's bad for you. You guys just can't see past the programming. It's called paid television programming, if you didn't know. Operation Mockingbird. Look that up. The military doctrine, David. I'm sure they shut the operation down. It only cost $1 billion. Not worse than the Holocaust. They just had a whole psychological apparatus plugged into a screen that can literally put your mind in the same brain patterns as you sleeping. Look it up in the Harvard study. I seen it 10 years ago, David. I was told it doesn't exist. Blue light isn't that bad. Now we have blue light filters and glasses and GMO labels, David. I can't wait until it says non-vaccinated people only can donate blood, David. Only non-vaccinated people can give that liver transplant.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe we're not. Are we not clear on this?
Dude, they violated Nuremberg. It's death. That it's fucking.
Hold on. I don't know if we're explaining this incorrectly or what. Mike, you're speaking about things that I'm not even remotely talking about. You're saying you're on a public platform. You're saying that we agreed to the terms and conditions. I'm not talking about the terms and conditions.
They did call Trump supporters Nazi when he first was elected. That's what I meant. I know you were calling me Nazi.
I'm not coming out and saying social media companies. If I start a social media company, right? If I start my own Rumble or YouTube, right? I start my own thing. It's Dave Videos, right? You go on DaveVideos.com and you sign up, and I say on DaveVideos.com, here's what you can't do. You can't call for violence. You can't dox people, right? I would have a list of like terms and conditions, and everybody agrees to the terms and conditions. And then if you come on DaveVideos.com and you dox somebody, I say, whoa, you dox somebody. You said right here you wouldn't do that. I'm pulling this video down. I'm not deleting your account. I'm a nice guy, right? But I'm pulling this video down because you dox somebody and clearly can't do that. And by the way, that's illegal. That's not what happened here. We're talking about another group, right? A government going to davesvideos.com and saying, hey, this guy is pushing Russian misinformation. Remove his video. And then me at davesvideos.com says, well, the government told me I have to remove this guy's video because it's Russian misinformation. Not the terms and conditions. Don't care about the terms and conditions. I care about that the government is censoring speech via davesvideos.com. That's a First Amendment violation. The government is my problem. The government telling YouTube, davesvideo.com, and Rumble to remove videos is my problem. Not YouTube having terms and conditions. A lot of times we didn't violate their terms and conditions or their guidelines. What we did was not meet the correct information as pushed by the World Health Organization. That's
I thought in a free country you're able to question. That's a
completely different conversation that has nothing to do with terms and conditions.
Yeah, and once again, David, they made people self-censored. They made us change our language. They made us change our daily habits. Like they rewired your brain. Like literally, they knew what they were doing. These people know exactly what they're doing. There's like a pun on the show for 2.5 years.
Literally, that was like the catchphrase for years.
Until Veep. It's just Veep, guys.
And then I don't even know what you're talking about. Like the Holocaust wasn't a conspiracy. No one here thinks the Holocaust was a conspiracy, just for the record. And neither was COVID. All this stuff right now was
first line of 2-year investigation. COVID was not a conspiracy. It's the first line. The first line. And honestly, Dave and I have had a program the whole time. You can go back and hold us accountable. Dave and I were not wrong about anything. Not anything. The mask, the living, the lab, the raccoon dog. All of it.
Yeah, we laughed at most of that. It was a bat, really. It was a bat. Well, it wasn't a bat. It was a dog. It was a dog, like at a meat market. Yeah, it was a dog at a meat market. All right, how did the fucking dog get it? What? It was a bat. Well, the bat gave it to the dog. Like, what are we talking about here? There is a lab. Dude, Jon Stewart literally did this better than anybody on Stephen Colbert. There is a lab in Wuhan with the name of the virus that was leaked, where the virus was the origin of the virus. And everyone said, well, it was probably the dog. Really? It wasn't the building where they studied the thing. It was just the craziest. No, absolutely not.
What happens when you give us the poison food and water, man?
You don't have to be a college degree, doctor, anything. You just have to be an average IQ American who can follow a logic trail. Does that make sense? Follow your senses, trust your senses. Does that make sense? That in China, Wuhan, China, where they're telling you the virus came from, there's a lab that studies the virus, and everyone said, well, it didn't come from there. Are you sure?
Mike, I don't know how you tell me at some points when Dave and I had our program censored on the internet. That's what, like, I think I keep getting stuck on this because it's so fucking frustrating. Imagine not being able to post on your Facebook and you get 2 views, 2 thumbs up, dude. But 500 friends, I get 2 thumbs up. Come on now.
But again, not because you violated the terms and conditions. You didn't go on your Facebook and dox somebody. You didn't go on Facebook and call for violence.
They were told
went on your Facebook and said, I don't know, I think this came from a lab. No, the government had a portal to Facebook that said, no, actually, that's misinformation.
And I've talked about this on the channel before, that I used to actually get more views on my Facebook podcast than I ever did friends. I had more views than friendship. And then after the 2016 election, it went down. because that's when they all started doing this whole algorithm thing that has now been plugged. Once again, the systems that they've made are used to suppress us. That's like, Mike, that's what I'm trying to do. Dave and I, we do a lot of stuff. We come on here and like tell the stories loosely, dude. Like, what do you think we're doing on the internet? Like, really, you think we're out here trying to lie to people? Especially during that time? I mean, dude, I went through job changes and relationships, and I lived in different places. I was fucking working 2 jobs. Like, dude, the amount of shit I had to do to just keep my life going, I was just trying to, like, stay sane with the amount of information. And they were pulling them because we were just like, I don't believe this. Which is completely reasonable to do, by the way. You tell your kids to not trust strangers and don't talk to strangers and fucking come home when the streetlights are on. Well, I don't trust known liars. I've read history books. Not a lot, barely.
You know, ironically,
but trust your senses, David. That is such a good. It's just gut instinct. I don't trust them.
Ironically, you can go to the Nazis and like if you were to try to relate any of what happened during COVID to the Nazis, like imagine. And by the way, the Nazis did do this. How do you think they talked people into gassing Jews? It was a public health emergency,
dude.
They told people Jews
blood crimes. They make people murder people together because when you do that, when you do heinous shit, especially the worse, the more heinous the crime, the more close the bonding is for the people that do it together. You're less likely to blow each other in if you do if you murder people together. So the Nazis, before they would send anybody to do anything, some of the times they would just have them kill somebody with somebody to bond them together, and that's your kill buddy, basically. You guys are going to be bonded for life over that fucking vasopressin bond because, of course, David, they know psychology, but they tell you not to worry about it. But they can chemically alter you and turn you into a girl. Give me estrogen, I'll turn into a woman. Fuck out of here. The fuck out of here. I think they synthesized testosterone in the early 30s or 40s. Come on. Dude, they censored us. Just take it. Just take the L, dude. You supported tyrants. That's all there. I don't want a fucking apology. I'm not expecting it to change. This is part of the system. This is what happened. This is the thorn on the rose. I don't care. I'm not doing it for validation. Dude, they will do it to you. They'll fucking kill us. I believe that. They killed Malcolm X. They killed Martin Luther King Jr., David. The government was found in the legal court of law. I'm not waiting. Once again, I'm not waiting to be peaceful. I'm waiting to be violent. They kill you regardless. They bankrupted Alex. And nobody puts that into this.
Well, he probably violated terms and conditions.
Fucking profit, dude. Profit.
COVID-19 vaccine. Contrary to what was promised, the COVID-19 vaccine did not stop the spread or transmission of the virus. Trust the science, right? All the scientists were running around telling you if you get it, you can't. Not only will you not have COVID, then not only won't you have COVID, but you can't spread COVID even if you have COVID. So that's go get the vaccine. That's what they were running around telling everybody. Then they tried to memory hole it and gaslight everybody and tell them, well, we didn't say that. We didn't actually say that. Well, yes, you did. And meanwhile, Ryan and myself were running around saying, that doesn't make sense. I don't think that's true. Rushed COVID-19 vaccine approval, which is funny because they actually praise Operation Warp Speed at some point. It's interesting. But the FDA rushed approval of the COVID-19 vaccine in order to meet the Biden administration's arbitrary mandate timeline. 2 leading FDA scientists warned their colleagues about the dangers of rushing vaccine approvals. Remember, we were running around telling everybody they don't have long-term tests. This is dangerous. You shouldn't do this. They're saying, no, it's safe. We've done the tests. Vaccine mandates. Vaccine mandates were not supported by science and caused more harm than good. The Biden administration coerced healthy Americans into compliance with the COVID-19 vaccine mandates that trampled individual freedoms, harmed military readiness, and disregarded medical freedom to force a novel vaccine on millions of Americans without sufficient evidence to support their policy decisions. Natural immunity is a big one. Natural immunity. Public health officials engaged in a coordinated effort to ignore natural immunity, which is acquired through previous COVID-19 infections, when developing vaccine guidance and mandates. A lot of this stuff is not trust the science, trust the science, trust the science. It is trust the science. If you look historically, this is what happens with viruses. Natural immunity isn't a new thing, or herd immunity, or whatever you want to call it. It's not a new idea. It wasn't a new concept that came out during COVID. It was known. In fact, vaccines are basically a synthetic way of getting natural immunity. What do? They take a dying version of the virus, they inject it into you, so your body recognizes the dying or dead version of the virus. At least it can build up the antibodies. This is very basic version of science. So it can recognize it if you ever get it in the future. That's basically what a vaccine is. It's herd immunity. It's just a different way of getting herd immunity. Vaccine injury reporting system. Vaccine injury reporting system created confusion, failed to properly inform the American public about vaccine injuries, and deteriorated public trust in vaccine safety during the COVID-19 pandemic. Vaccine injury compensation. The government is failing to efficiently, fairly, and transparently adjudicate claims for the COVID-19 vaccine injured. Thanks, Ronald Reagan. That's his fault. I get it. I know. I'm sure we got conservatives watching who are a big Ronald Reagan fan. I like Ronald Reagan too, but that's the worst thing Ronald Reagan could have possibly done. Business impacts. Federal and state governments imposed mandatory lockdowns that were the primary cause of temporary and permanent business closures. More than 160,000 businesses closed due to the pandemic, with 60,000 of those closures classified as permanent. For the business that stayed or reopened, the lack of supply chain diversity exacerbated pandemic-era challenges and deepened existing disparities. Healthcare impacts. American healthcare system was severely damaged by the COVID-19 pandemic. Patients experienced a decreased quality of care, longer wait times, shorter medical appointments, and missed diagnoses. I had that. Listen, there's stats, there's facts, and then there's anecdotes. And I'm going to tell an anecdote. But when I had COVID-19, I went in not because I was feeling a little sick. I went in because I had a little stomach thing going on. I couldn't eat. Not necessarily COVID symptoms, right? I got lightheaded. I passed out. I was told to go to the hospital. I went to the hospital. The first thing they did was jam a thing up my nose and tell me I had COVID. I've told the story on here. It wasn't very scientific. The doctor said, "Oh, it's probably Omicron. That's what's going around right now." I said, "Well, you did the test. Is it Omicron?" "It's probably Omicron." "Oh, probably. Okay. I can trust that test." Worker impacts. Unemployment rates surged to levels not seen since the Great Depression. Overly broad mitigation measures included the now debunked 6 feet apart guidance, disproportionately impacted sectors with low wage earners. It destroyed the Trump economy, and then they used it against him. The Federal Reserve's aggressive, early, and unprecedented response to the COVID-19 pandemic prevented severe economic downturn. This continued approach also contributed to staggering inflation. COVID-19 school closures, the science quotes, never justified prolonged school closures. Children were unlikely to contribute to the spread of COVID-19 or suffer severe illness or mortality. Instead, as a result of school closures, children experienced historic learning loss, higher rates of psychological distress, and decreased physical well-being, all because the teachers' unions refused to have teachers going to school with children who could be sick. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. By the way, when YouTube shuts one of your videos down during the COVID days, they referenced the WHO and the CDC. The Biden administration's CDC broke precedent and provided a political teachers organization with access to its scientific school reopening guidance. Former CDC director Rochelle Walensky asked the American Federation of Teachers, the AFT, to provide specific language for the guidance, and even went so far as to accept numerous edits made by the AFT. AFT influence. Schools remained closed longer than necessary because the AFT's political interference in the CDC's reopening guidance. The AFT is a political union, not a scientific organization that advocated the mitigation efforts that prolonged school closures, including automatic closure trigger. Now, that's literally what I just said. It wasn't the science. It was teachers' unions running around telling everybody that the teachers aren't going to teach. Standardized test scores show that children lost decades worth of academic progress as a result of COVID-19 school closures. Mental and physical health concerns also skyrocketed. With suicide attempts by 12 to 17-year-old age girls rising 51%. The number is staggering. HHS obstruction. The Biden administration, HHS, engaged in a multi-year campaign of delay, confusion, and non-responsiveness in an attempt to obstruct select subcommittees' investigation and hide evidence that could incriminate or embarrass senior public health officials. It appears that the HHS even intentionally under-resourced its component that responds to legislative oversight requests. The EcoHealth president, Dr. Peter Daszak, obstructed the select subcommittee's investigation by providing publicly available information, instructing his staff to reduce the scope and pace of productions, and doctoring documents before releasing them to the public. Further, Dr. Daszak provided false statements to Congress. Yeah, I don't know, Ryan. He's been in and out a little bit throughout the stream. I'm not entirely sure where he went. Dr. David Morans, Dr. Fauci's senior advisor, Dr. David Morans, deliberately obstructed the select subcommittee's investigations. They lied to Congress on multiple occasions, unlawfully deleted federal COVID-19 records, and shared non-public information about the NIH grant process with EcoHealth President Dr. Daszak. How is this not a conspiracy? New York obstruction. New York obstruction chamber led presently by Governor Kathy Hochul, who was the replacement, the non-elected replacement for Andrew Cuomo, redacted documents, offered numerous illegitimate privilege claims, and withheld thousands of documents without an apparent legal basis to obstruct the select subcommittee's investigation into former Governor Cuomo's pandemic-era failures. I mean, this goes on and on and on. This is a 520-page summary. Report, rather. I mean, seriously, this is astonishing. Hold on. Let me see if I can bring this up. I'm not going to sit here and read through this, but I'm seriously, look at this. This is we're not even close. I mean, it just keeps going. 520 pages. It took 2 years to put this together. We are having some serious technical difficulties here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where to go from this. I mean, I'd hate to end it on a note like this. I know, I'm sure Ryan has plenty more to say about the subject, but COVID-19, we all knew it when it was happening. We were calling it live, and to see this come out now, several years later, it's yes, it's vindication, but it should be a huge wake up call to everybody, to anybody who was even on the fence about this. And it needs to be said that this kind of thing they're not going to stop, right? This isn't the last time this happens. It's going to happen more. It's going to continue to happen. They're going to plan more things in the future. I always kind of looked at this as a test. I thought this was a test run. It was a psychological experiment. They wanted to see how far they could take it. Is it extreme to run around and say it's worse than the Holocaust? I get that's a jarring statement. It sounds bad. I get it. I know your gut instinct, your biological instinct, what's been driven into you since a child, is that the Holocaust is the worst thing that's ever happened to humanity. And there's a lot of merit to that. The Holocaust was a terrible thing. But I don't think people fully understand the scale of what happened here. And it's going to be years longer before we even have a remote understanding of how large this was. You got to remember, this is just the United States government. This report is just what the United States government did. That doesn't include what the Chinese government did. It doesn't include the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization. It does include a little bit. It touches on it a little bit, but it doesn't go into depth. I'll talk to you about this topic. I can tell Ryan too, but I think at some point Ryan had given me your number. I don't know if it's probably buried in old text messages from forever ago, but here's what we can set something up for next weekend, because I would love to talk more, especially on social media. I mean, when it comes to the social media thing, I don't understand I don't know if I'm quite communicating it incorrectly or you're taking what I'm saying incorrectly. It just seems like it's like a weird, you won't back off of this social media thing. Like, you will defend YouTube to the death. And my problem is with YouTube to some degree, just because their lack of courage, just because their weak will, the fact that they just fell in line, I that bothers me. But the bigger problem I have is when the government is telling social media companies that things should not be allowed on their platforms. And then, by the way, it ceases to be a platform when the government can tell you what can and cannot be on it. Then it's no longer an open platform. So that's not to say that, we can have you on this week. So that's not to say that a platform can't have rules, okay? I'm not saying a platform can't have its own guidelines. What I'm saying is the government cannot tell a platform what it can have and on its platform. Then it ceases to be a platform. And that platform, by the way, cannot individually pick and choose when they follow their guidelines, because that's another big issue I have. That's my biggest issue with YouTube. Yes, the weak willed thing. But when you have Facebook and YouTube and Twitter at the time, which is now X, but Twitter at the time was running around doing the same thing, where they would censor specific individuals, but they wouldn't follow those rules for everybody equally across the board. That's where my problem comes in with the platforms. But my bigger problem is the fact that the government had open portals to the platforms and they could tell the platforms what to do. So I think definitely we could have you on. We can have you on next week. I would love to talk about that. I could talk to you about COVID. We'll figure something out. I'll get with Ryan on that. But I don't know where Ryan's at. He got lost in the mix here. So hate to end the show without Ryan here, but I'm not sure where he went. I know he's getting some intermittent things, so he must have some stuff going on. But we'll be back next week like we always are, probably in the Sunday night range, because that's usually when we like to be on. So catch us Sunday night, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, X, formerly Twitter. I don't think I have to say that anymore. Follow us definitely on Rumble, though, because Rumble was one of the only platforms, which is why I love Rumble so much. So if you ever hear me hyping up Rumble, this is why. Rumble was the only platform with the balls, X now, to tell governments to go fuck themselves. It was the only government with the balls, and it's still the only platform with the balls, in my personal opinion. So that's why I love Rumble so much. So if you're going to follow us on Rumble. Like, comment, share the videos, do all those things. I don't really, whatever. If you choose to do it, you do it. If you don't do it, you don't do it. I'm not concerned about any of that stuff. I'm going to be here on Rumble until they won't have me anymore. See you, everyone. See you next time.